We also got some Twitch news.
Some good Twitch news.
Some good Twitch news.
And some
Break down what everybody's
Twitch
saying
news.
about Twitch.
So Twitch just had TwitchCon, and I think for the most part, user sentiment is pretty high because, you know, around TwitchCon it usually is. Hopefully they don't go back to Vegas because apparently the Vegas TwitchCon location was hard to get to. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff around it that people could go to do with other streamers.
Where did they do it?
I don't remember the place. I'd have to look it up. But this is just what I've been hearing as far as feedback goes, is that there wasn't a lot of places for people to hang out outside of the actual event. And everything was mega expensive and transit sucked. But besides that, TwitchCon
sounds like Vegas.
Yeah, right. TwitchCon itself had a bunch of good announcements. We got basically stories in Twitch finally, which is good. A little bit more of that discoverability stuff that in a previous video I did on my channel probably about a year ago now is one of the things that I think is feeding the algorithm that the science team talked about. Because I covered a scientific paper that they put out a while back covering all of the stuff that they would be adding to Twitch to kind of be able to build out the algorithm to do more discoverability on the platform. And this is one of the longer term projects that I think that they were working on, because this allows scheduling to be a little bit more fluid, because if you can go on and you can do it's super muffled. All right, 1 second. Oh, you know what? I know what it is. The mic foam keeps popping off. So I'm gonna put it outside of my shirt and leave it right here. So the discoverability should be a little bit better on the platform now, because you're going to be able to basically put up a story, be like, hey, I'm going live in like 4 hours or whatever, and hopefully that'll build more of that engagement beyond somebody just trying to keep track of like your schedule or your Google Calendar or whatever that looks like. There'll be more consistent engagement. You can also feature clips. I think more people have access to featured clips at this point, because I know I had access to it. I also had access to like the feed that we just talked about for a little while. There was like 20% of the user base was able to check it out early. It's been kind of interesting. It's a little bit obtuse in my mind to just kind of throw on there, but ultimately those are the two really big positives. And letting people stream on every platform is the big thing. You can now stream on YouTube, Kick, Twitch, all at the same time. They don't care. It's not like you have to have different content for each platform or label it differently or everything.
With an asterisk.
With an asterisk. There should be a little asterisk right next to my head here.
Okay. So here's the asterisk as I understand it. John, correct me. And let's see if I understood what was being said in the new TOS. You can simulcast, much like we do right now.
Yep.
But if you're going to do a chat overlay in your box, which we actually got rid of, mostly for YouTube reasons, you cannot have the simulcast chats running through your overlay.
Yes.
It has to be your Twitch chat only. So again, a little bit behind the scenes. If I want to, I can add an overlay from Restreamio, which is how we simulcast to YouTube and Twitch simultaneously, is it runs through a Restreamio pipeline and then it goes to both platforms. Restreamio does have a function where I can be like, here's my Restreamio chat, and I can run it as a thing, and it will show both my YouTube and Twitch, and it will show where it came from, even whether it came from my YouTube chat or my Twitch chat or TikTok or wherever. Because you can do a lot of stuff with Restreamio simulcast, but you're not allowed to put that in your overlay as Twitch. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, so you cannot have your combined chat as an overlay on Twitch.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
From a liability standpoint, I can understand it. Because they can't control what is said on YouTube or Kick.
Right, because their moderation tools don't apply.
They don't extend to the other platforms. Which okay, so that's an easy blanket coverall for that. The other one that I thought was a little bit weird that goes hand in hand with this specifically is you can't tell people that you are live on other platforms. The way that it's worded is you cannot
post your links into.
You can't post your links, but you also can't mention that you are currently live on another platform. So the way that I honestly see this, the first thing that I see a streamer doing right now in my mind that's big enough to need that is big enough that needs simulcasting that would also have combined chats is, since you can't have the other icons on there, and you can't have the combined chat, I immediately see 3 little colored boxes off to the right side that are 3 different chats. One is a red box outline, one is a green box outline, and one is a purple box outline, and you just don't say where they're coming from, and suddenly your chat's back on the screen, because that's what I see people will push back against this in some way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But the main thing is they essentially don't want you at this point alluding to the fact that you're live on other platforms. And I think this comes down to a control thing where like they cannot control or enforce the problematic things that could happen on other platforms because they are not those platforms. And so the only way that you can really quell that is to just not have it happen in the first place. Or at least not have your name next to it, as Twitch doesn't want to be combined with all those other chats.
Okay, so here's my issue. Yeah, I mean, it just seems silly to me. Come on, Twitch. Do you think this fixes do you think some of the stuff they're adding out fixes the discoverability? Because we've talked about this on this show, both before John came on, when I was here with Pete, and things like that. And I've discussed this with a lot of content creators. The biggest issue with Twitch, and actually really it's any of the big video platforms, but the biggest issue with Twitch is discoverability.
Yeah.
Right? Starting a channel from scratch, like, it is an uphill battle if you don't already have a pretty strong social media presence.
Yeah, it really is. I would say that like this is one of the many tools that will help push towards that. And it's really just because like it's not going to be any one specific thing that's like, all right, now Twitch is like you can go on stream and you're discoverable, right? I don't think it's going to be any one specific thing. Even in the scientific document that they put out, it sounds like it's a multi-pronged thing for them, because they have to be able to gather enough data on the back end to do the things like YouTube does. Because YouTube, when you put up a YouTube video, you tag it, you put words, you change how you're gonna, capitalize and not capitalize sentences, change out your thumbnails. Like there's a ton of science that goes into like what makes a video discoverable versus what doesn't. And on the back end, they do a lot of that heavy lifting for you on YouTube.
YouTube does, yeah.
Which is something that Twitch is having to build out because as a live service platform, and again, I alluded to this in another video, it's a lot harder to send somebody to another stream and make sure that it's the same sort of vibe as the stream you just left. Whereas on YouTube, more often than not, the algorithm knows where to feed you up the next thing from.
Well, and I've shown you how our kind of algorithm stuff works. Like
Yep.
when you look at our videos on the back end, it shows me like if we came up in a recommended tab, like somebody was watching another video about Twitch and we pop up in their recommended, it shows me how many people came over from those recommended tabs and which,
and what
it actually shows me, it shows me which videos, hey, they were watching this video, so we served up yours.
Yep.
And this is of the number of people. This is how many people we served it up to, and here's how many clicked on it.
Sometimes you'll get a really random one, but like more often than not, when we were looking through those videos, it made sense as to why we would have been placed in the sidebar next to them.
Yeah, or in their end screen.
Yeah.
The average viewer count for a stream, isn't it like 3? It's not many, and the problem with average is that you have a very small number. Average is probably not a great metric to use, because you've got a very small number of streamers who average a lot of viewers, a very small number. And then you've got a lot of streamers that average 1. So using an average, I would say if Twitch put out what the median streamer number is, it would probably be more useful.
I can see that. Right?
Because averages, again, will get thrown off by your outliers pretty significantly.
So if anybody's interested in what they're trying to do, I don't know if that's going to get blocked or not.
No, it's there.
Cool. So that's a link to the YouTube video for the talk about discoverability that I did, like a brief overview. And the more important thing is in that video link, there should be documentation. There should be the documentation that I'm referencing that the science team from Amazon put out as far as like what they're doing to build this discoverability on the back end and why it's been taking so long.
Yeah. So keep your eyes here. We're going to keep watching this. Obviously, we simulcast. We're going to continue to simulcast.
Yep.
I took the chat box out of ours just because it didn't really fit our current thing. But if some certain things go on, John and I have talked about, you may see some changes to the show
Yep.
and programming here. So stay tuned for that.